Welcome to the Investor Coaching Show, a podcast to help you get an insider's view of the financial world and escape common investment traps. We look at the financial news of the day and help you make sense of it so you can relax about money. And here's your host, Paul Winkler.
All right, we're back here on the Investor Coaching Show. One of my favorite articles in the Wall Street Journal this week. Binance guilty plea shows what crypto's really about. Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao.
CZ, baby.
CZ, thank you. Yeah, that's probably better. I don't know if I probably butchered that totally. In center as he leaves Seattle courthouse, stepped down and pleaded guilty in violating U.S. anti-money laundering requirements. And says, so it turns out that of the two largest crypto exchanges, one was a fraud and the other one was a money launderer. Whoever would have guessed?
Yeah. You think?
Skeptics of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have had their prejudices reinforced. Two main causes, fraud and crime, have been exposed to the public in dramatic fashion. Now we all have to do is sit back and wait for the inevitable collapse in value, except there's one problem. It keeps going up. Well, up and down.
Up and down, yeah.
Up and down. I mean, it's been way the heck higher
volatile.
than it is now. Yeah, it's been way higher than it is right now. But it is just, what? And they're talking about that people are out there doing digital art, right?
Right.
That's not like non-fungible tokens, is it? That's not that, is it?
You talking about in the article?
NFT? Yeah, I don't know what they were talking about.
Really, yeah.
I can't even, in reading through that, I can't even picture actually what would be going on, because these are all, it's just all, a 32-digit, behind the decimal place fraction of a coin when you're moving these things, and they're quote unquote engraving art in this piece of a digital Bitcoin.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
I think what he said here was, whatever floats your boat.
Right.
I think, right?
Yeah.
So the problem with relying on this to support value of Bitcoin is it's a fashionable thing, like Beanie Babies, of course, might be fashionable for a while.
Pet rocks.
Yeah.
And pet rocks. You got a pet rock?
Chia pets.
I'll get you one for Christmas.
Hula hoops.
Rise in small Bitcoin transactions all shows how useless it is as a currency. Apparently, they got these charges on there. People, the size of the Bitcoin transactions has been going down, but the fee to use it in transaction has been going up. And it says they haven't. It's $5 to do a transaction. And that's an insane amount to pay for something invented as a payment method. Digital gold. Some people say that that's the reason it has value is because it's like gold, except it's in digital form.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they say that, it was, it says the argument was tested when it went into destruction over the past 2 years. Bitcoin's moves over the past 3 years have been much closer to the S&P 500 than to gold or inflation, but stocks are an investment in real assets that pay dividends while Bitcoin produces nothing. And that's what we always quote Gene Fama saying, it's not an investment, it doesn't have a cost of capital.
Right.
And then gambling was another thing.
Well, before you leave the digital
go
gold,
ahead.
actually,
Mm-hmm.
It says, gold's this touted as the hedge against inflation. It's a good store of value.
Right.
And so we have record inflation from the last 20 or 30 years.
Right.
And Bitcoin drops 60%. Exactly the opposite of what it's supposed to do. Now, the interesting thing...
That is fascinating. When you think about that, that is fascinating.
And it mirrors what we tell clients frequently is, gold, physical gold, is also a horrible hedge against inflation. It's got enormous volatility, just like the Bitcoin did. Inflation is really not all that volatile, and gold is at least a store of value. I will give it that. 100 years ago, an ounce of gold bought a Goodman suit. Today, an ounce of gold buys a Goodman suit.
But as an investment, it's been
it's a horrible investment.
Right.
Right.
No cost of capital.
Right.
Yeah, and we look at that. We did that little study where you took an income from the late 1970s and you ran out of money.
Right.
You literally ran yourself out of money pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it's not great. And gambling is the other thing that they're talking about crypto being used for. It's I guess it's more socially acceptable than saying that I went to the track.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is it's kind of like that. And then the last thing he brings up is crime. It says tempted a few years ago by the idea that value of crypto could be underpinned by genuine transactions that need to avoid the financial system. Buying illegal drugs, money laundering, avoiding sanctions, anonymous.
Oh, the things that he was just prosecuted for, perhaps?
Pretty much. It's like going, okay, this is, and the only thing that hit me, and he didn't bring it up in here, was that it could be used in countries that didn't have a stable currency. If you have a country that just doesn't have a stable currency, it could be used as a store of value in those countries. But the reality of it is, this is really what we're seeing. But if you look at that transaction cost going up, that kind of knocks that out of the park.
Right.
Where it doesn't work out so well.
Well, not to mention, technically, it's taxable then because you're...
Well, sure. Yeah, that's a good
any
point.
gain.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's actually technically, if you've made a gain on it, then you actually have when you use it for a transaction, not only have you gotten rid of it, but it also can have a taxable tax effect on it, on that money, or on the Bitcoin actually increasing value or whatever cryptocurrency you're talking about. And he says that it's failed to live up to its original premise of being cheap online cash, but crypto keeps on reinventing itself. I mean, it is. It's kind of like, okay, it didn't work for that, but it's good for this. Oh, it didn't work for that, but it's good for this.
Yeah.
It's like, whack-a-mole.
Yeah. Well, and they brought up a good point too. They said, and it's not like there's only one crypto. They keep creating more and more.
Right. Even the Wall Street Journal created their own.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they actually,
Did they do it as an experiment, or were they trying
they
to?
did it as an experiment. They wanted to see if it caught on, and it did. It was, this has been years, but it was just, wow, okay, we created our own. Whatever.
Yeah.
Baseball cards of the 21st century.
Yeah, something
I've got
like
the Wall
that.
Street Journal rookie coin, and
Yeah, whatever. But when I get in conversations with people and they ask about that, they ask about gold, they ask about silver, any of those types of things. Not an investment. And I hear financial advisors say, don't have any more than, X% of your portfolio in this. And I'm like, if you don't believe this is a good thing, why would you have anything in that? And you'll always hear the story of somebody that hit it big with whatever.
Right.
With an individual stock.
Yeah.
Well,
but the individual stocks, Paul, you can't say individual stocks aren't good. Look at, so-and-so, whoever had an individual company that they probably ran.
Yes.
Right. Or they were on the board of directors for, or they, whatever. But the reality of it is, so often we only hear the success stories. We don't hear the mounds and mounds of failures and people that have been harmed significantly and put themselves behind the eight ball. And then all of a sudden, now they're gun shy to do anything because they've been burnt on this thing that was supposed to be so good. And now they don't do anything, and they're way behind. They're in their 40s or their 50s. They don't have enough accumulated because they were trying to hit it out of the park.
Well,
in their 20s
and
30s.
also, I mean, it's just such a young invention. There's nothing but recency bias by looking at anything to do with it.
Right.
So there's no proof over time.
Yeah, you want to mess up your American dream?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys saw that study. American Dream.
Yeah.
A lot of people basically saying, I don't think it's 36% of voters in a new Wall Street Journal poll. So the American Dream still holds true. That's it. Only 36%. 1/3 approximately of people believe that the American Dream actually has any kind of holding power, that they have any possibility of achieving it. And you think, wow, how many people move into this country from other places, in peril, putting their life in peril to get here because they believe it has validity, that they can do it. And yet people, I guess, American born, I don't know. They didn't say who they polled. But the reality of it is there are people still coming to this country in droves. I think American dream is alive and well. It's just a state of mind.
Absolutely.
I think it is just a state of mind, and it's going back and saying, okay, what am I here for?
Yep.
What are the opportunities, and how can I look at the I'm amazed at the success that I see around me. Just at the college, the people that are actually going out and leaving the college and getting out in the career world and doing amazing things.
Yeah. I was in a conversation about this probably a month ago, and a group of us were kind of sharing how we define the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that conversation, one of the speakers said, basically, the American dream is a deterministic screen. It's the way you see the world.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that.
As opposed to what you've achieved or what you can get to. It's the lens you see the world in.
I was talking to a young guy the other day. Well, I mentioned college just a second ago, but the reality was this guy's coming out and doesn't really want to go to college. But boy, could he do anything in electrical work or plumbing work? And look at what some of these people make in contractors. And doing work like that, and because that's what they love and that's what they're good at.
Yep. No debt. I mean, they're good income.
Yeah. Right. It's just how you view the world.
Yeah.
And the opportunities. And if you'll go and just say, hey, here's what I want to do. I'm going to work hard. And I told my kids many times, if you have a work ethic and you really put your mind to things, you won't have much competition.
That's true. Right. Because that work ethic is rare.
It is becoming increasingly rare, but therein lies the opportunity.
Right.
Yes.
For the person that is other-centered and wants to focus on other people and how to solve other people's problems, because that's all work is. Mm-hmm. Work is simply taking on a task to solve somebody else's problem and doing something that you have the ability to do that maybe they don't want to do or they can't do. They probably don't want to do it because they can't do it quite often. But there is tremendous opportunity for those that will pursue it still in this country. So I think that despite how this will be used for political purposes, because no matter who's in presidency, the reality of it is, and we've had some pretty crazy stuff over the past, 100 years, and people have still made it somehow or some way. It is the way you view life. It's what you look at and what you think you can do. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly.
Henry Ford, right? Paul Winkler, Investor Coaching Show. Ann Sawaski, Evan Barnard. Be right back after this. Thanks for tuning in to the Investor Coaching Podcast. Now, you may be one of these people that's been listening and realizing, wow, investing, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, and financial planning, tax laws constantly changing, and recognizing that maybe you might need some help in this area, but you don't want just anybody to help you out. So we have 10 offices in the Middle Tennessee area, and everything that we do is fee only. We align our interests with your interests. So you can get an initial 15-minute phone call with any one of our offices just by going to paulwinkler.com/call. That's it. Every one of the offices is run by somebody with 20 plus years experience. They're all degreed planners. They all have academic backgrounds in investing, and you can get the help that you need. So if you want to set up a complimentary phone consultation, just go to paulwinkler.com/call. And we look forward to seeing you soon. We were talking a little bit earlier about how much money people need to be happy. Millennials, $525,000, not total amount of money, but annual income to be happy. Maybe that's why this article, American borrowers are getting closer to maxing out. If I can't make the money, by George, I'll borrow it and live at that level.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, they are getting to the top of their borrowing ranges.
Yeah.
Which is not a good sign. That there's really a lot of stress out there with the inflation and everything.
Yeah, they said recent note published by the Federal Reserve Bank in Boston found that as of July, consumers with annual household incomes of less than $50,000 whose accounts were delinquent were on average utilizing 80 to 90% of available credit. Leaves the consumers with a very small amount of credit left in their accounts to cushion against, I guess, moving back into the basement of their parents might be an option. Ouch. Yeah, I mean, what is going on that people are borrowing? I remember, man, we've seen this before.
Yes.
Where people borrow at those levels and then they go, oh, man. And then all of a sudden they have the wake-up call of their lives and then try to dig their way out of it. But it's not easy.
It is not easy. Yeah.
Maybe that's why they need a 50% raise, was it?
Yeah, I just saw this article.
It was something about how much of a raise do you need to be happy? 50%. Yeah, that's
Wall
good.
Street Journal
Good luck with
article
that.
by Joe Pinsker. Yeah, and they said that while employers are planning on an average pay increase of 3.9%.
3.9. A little bit shy
Yes.
of 50%.
There's a gap.
Yes.
I think there's a gap.
According
Somebody's
to,
not going to be happy.
Yes, according to an Empower survey, Americans said that to be happy, they'd need almost a 50% raise.
Wow.
Or to $525,000, whichever's left.
Right. Yes.
Is this a
So, yeah,
is this
I mean,
a career
that's kind of
breakdown?
crazy, but
A career breakdown?
Yeah.
I think it's a breakdown in...
Because if you're a school teacher or you work in entertainment or
yeah, so, and
They want
this is
50%
really
across the board.
There's a chart here about median salaries of different levels, and it's pretty much all of them. So,
Yeah, it's going to be a rough pay. The next time that you get together the employer and say, so how am I doing?
yeah.
Well, not good enough to get a 50% raise. I think it's going to be the answer. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I kind of think that's true.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So,
Well,
I don't know. That's
rough.
kind of crazy. But I mean, really, so much of it, I think, has to do with inflation. And I mean, everything is going up. And when you see what people are, like I just look at people in my neighborhood.
Oh,
and
sure. Yeah.
how much housing has gone up.
Yeah.
And you have young
sure.
families trying to pay high prices.
Hey, this is Paul Winkler. Hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Investor Coaching Show. You want to learn more about what we do, go to our website, paulwinkler.com. You can watch some of the videos there, and if you're not already a client, you can set up a free initial consultation. Until next time, I'm Paul Winkler, reminding you that I believe that more educated investors are more confident investors, and confident investors are more successful investors. Have a great one. Advisory services offered through Paul Winkler, Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Paul Winkler, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.